Welcome back to the show. Thank you for staying with us right here on Diaspora Vibes. Now, recently, President Uhuru Kenyatta and US President Donald Trump held a bilateral meeting. They announced that they plan to enter into a trade agreement, despite the fact that none of the details to this agreement have been provided yet. Harris Grant, the former senior director for African Affairs in the White House under President Obama, says if implemented, the agreement will set a new precedence on how the US strikes trade deals with African countries.
The U.S. has said for several years that it was hoping to move to a more bilateral arrangement with sub-Saharan African states. What exists right now is called the African Growth and Opportunity Act, and that is a unilateral set of preferences that African countries can use to access the U.S. market. But it's not a two-way regime, meaning that it's not about free trade, it's about giving access to African states. And the United States has watched as the European Union, as China, and as others have been inking deals across the continent and establishing more bilateral trade benefits. And they've seen also that U.S. companies can be disadvantaged by them as well, including in countries like South Africa, where European companies would have a better deal and better access to the South African market. Okay. And it seemed then from the U.S. perspective, I believe, I don't work for the White House anymore, but I think from the U.S. perspective, Kenya is a very natural partner to explore a free trade agreement like this. And as you said, it would be the first free trade agreement with a sub-Saharan African country. Yeah. Right now, the U.S. only has a free trade agreement with Morocco.
Okay. Now, if we look at the African Growth Opportunity Act, that is set to come to an end in the year 2025, and the United States has been advising African countries to start looking for other initiatives. Now, this definitely means that the African countries that have been benefiting from the program are going to suffer. What's the ripple effect in the event that the act is not renewed?
I think the ripple effects will be pretty big, especially for some countries that have developed export strategies that have been factoring in the African Growth and Opportunity Act benefits. And that is responsible for over 1 million jobs on the continent. I think indirectly and directly. I think a key question will be, is the United States going to renew this? 2025 is coming up relatively quickly, meaning that in terms of trade discussions, that's the blink of an eye, and time will go very fast. Previous U.S. presidents have supported renewal and sought to do so. A big question between now and 2025 is going to be, is there another path for more bilateral trade? This free trade agreement with Kenya could prove a model that could be used with other African states. That's certainly how the Trump administration is describing its benefit. But I think there are a lot of unanswered questions, and we'll also have to see what the U.S. is feeling as 2025 gets closer and whether it wants to continue AGOA in some way, shape, or form, renew it wholly, or really pivot entirely to free trade agreements.
Okay. Now that Kenya is going alone, they're actually taking steps to, it looks like they're taking steps to go alone in terms of trade talks and negotiating trade deals with the United States. Does this look or seem like a betrayal to the East African Community Customs Protocol, so to say?
I think it's a critical point to factor in the regional integration efforts, not just of the East African community, but of course of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And there's been some discussion about that in the media in particular and among key parties since the announcement of this intent to negotiate a free trade agreement. Some of the commentators have noted there are ways to do this in terms of creating an agreement that supports intra-regional integration. You could do so by allowing for the potential accumulation of inputs, and you could look at compliance with rules of origins, and you could be including provisions like this. And some scholars like Annabelle Gonzalez of the Peterson Institute for International Economics have floated specific ways that that could happen. I think that this remains a very big unanswered question, because to say that you're going to negotiate a free trade agreement can mean a lot of different things in terms of how expansive it can be, what all is going to be included, the duration of it, the dispute settlement, if there is any. All of these questions are unanswered. And I think a big question that will need to be answered is how to support intra-regional integration as you pursue a free trade agreement and show that this can be a new model.
Now, where would such a move place the African Trade Agreement? Because one of the policies under the African Trade is that you have to negotiate the deals as a bloc. Where does this leave the African trade deal, if such a deal is supposed to go through?
The United States, the Trump administration has said that it supports the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. I think, again, the question is going to be, do they pursue a free trade agreement with Kenya in a way that can support intra-regional integration and that allows potentially for other countries to accede to such an agreement, or that would factor in the tariff structure and the different modalities that the East African community and that more broadly the African Continental Free Trade Agreement are moving toward. So we don't know enough yet about the intent of what will be included in the free trade agreement. I personally hope that it'll be incredibly conscious of and sensitive to this very important need to support regional integration efforts.
Very candid conversation that we had with